Iron Blooded Orphans feels like it's the type of show where you should really have 2 episodes each time. Because, I mean, they have this whole thing of splitting it up so that one episode will be all plot progression and character development, which is what this episode was. Followed by an episode where there's going to be a big battle and just about not much else there. So, I mean, it would be really nice if instead of every week we have one or the other, they'd kind of just wait every 2 weeks and bring out a double episode so we had a nice balance of the both, in my opinion. But, even when there is plot progression and character development, there is a ton of shit going on. I mean, in this episode, we were introduced to 3 new characters. We were also shown what Farid has been up to as Choco Man and the Man in the Mask. We've seen that Hitler Stash has come back. There was so much plot progression. There was so much character development between Kudelia and Atra and Mikazuki. And goddamn, Mikazuki's forming his little harem now. Oh man, there was just so much going on. It's hard to remember it all when it happens like this. Because it is just, here's a new character, here's a new character, there's a new character. And they're all, just kind of getting introduced at once. So there's so many people on Earth now that have just been introduced. None of which I really understand. I mean, there's an old man sipping champagne on a beach waiting for Kudelia's arrival, calling her a princess and basically looking forward to her showing up and interested clearly in what she's going to be up to. There's another woman who's clearly into politics as everyone was asking her opinions on this and that, or maybe she's just a big company executive. I really don't know. They didn't really introduce her enough to give us any information on her. And then we were also introduced to a new member of Gjallarhorn who looks really cool. Fox-faced woman from the opening with the white hair and the painted face. Oh man. She speaks like an old school actress. Like with the proper enunciated things. So she should be a lot of fun. She doesn't seem too interested in Baldwin. I'm hoping that the other man that she is interested in, I mean, she was saying she was interested in fighting Kudelia and she wanted another man to show up. I'm hoping that's going to be Farid. I'm hoping she is interested in Farid. Especially now that Farid is playing this whole other character. Pretending to be a normal company person, even though he wears a big golden mask and stands out like a bitch. Speaking of Farid, how damn cool is it when Mika was just like, oh, why's Chocolate Man here? It was so chill. He was just like, hey, I know you. I'm not sure if Mika can smell him, like old school Goku's animal instincts or what, but he just instantly knew exactly who he was, and that was kind of amazing. And then Takadan, well, the first 3 members of Takadan found out that he just wants to reform Gjallarhorn rather than actually be any part of this deal. God, man. This is so damn twisty and shit. So at the same time, we had little bonding moments between Baldwin and Ein. Ein was just remembering Crank and how he was feeling like he wasn't really human because everybody treated him like he wasn't human because he's half Martian, and Crank was the only one who saw through that, and now Baldwin's kind of doing the same thing. But that really wasn't needed. I mean, they've had quite a few bonding moments in this, and I've said it before, but Ein's whole character is just, God, I love Lieutenant Crank. And so we could basically assume that Crank had been good to Ein anyway, so it wasn't really needed for us to have a flashback about that. Really? I don't know, but this whole episode was about responsibility. Everybody on the ship was talking about taking responsibility for their own actions. Mikazuki had a great bit of character development, where he basically said about Fumitan talking about responsibility right before she died, and now Mika's been thinking about it a lot. And so he wants to look after Kudelia. He wants to take her to Earth, and he wants to make sure that she succeeds, because he's basically in love with her at this point. I mean, when she was able to call off all of Gjallarhorn just by talking, he was really goddamn well impressed, because he knows he couldn't do that. Even Orga wouldn't have been able to do that. And so he's in love with Kudelia, and that's kind of cute. He's also looking after Atra. I liked how Atra was looking after Kudelia as well. She was all like, Mika, go hug her, man. You gotta hug a woman when she's crying. And then Mika hugged her, and Atra started crying, and he hugged them both, and God, they've got their little harem going. It's so cute. Shino's been broing out with Akihiro. They've been doing training simulations a lot. Getting kind of close, getting all sweaty and shirtless, to the point where Yumagi would have been super jealous if he had actually seen it. And surprisingly, another character seemed to be jealous about this whole thing, and that's Laughter, who is like 100% part of Naze Turbin's group. Like, she is part of the harem. She's totally in love with Naze. But at the same time, she seems to be a little bit jealous over Akihiro. Like, she was mentioning how he's looking after others so well, and she was feeling kind of gloomy about it. So I'm not sure if that is that she's interested in Akihiro, or if she just wants more appreciation. I don't know. Felt like she was into Akihiro anyway, and that would be pretty cool. And there were a few subtle moments towards the end of this episode too. When the song was playing, the ending was going, we saw that big bowl of candy that one of the kids had collected to make sure that the other children felt better. And we also saw the kids that were taking their writing classes. One of them was writing the name Fumitan, so that Fumitan death is actually hitting the younger ones quite hard as well. Which makes sense, since there was the one that like really was in love with her and like grabbed onto her tight and held on and saw her as a mother kind of figure like Kudelia did. So that's kind of sad. I'm kind of happy that they threw that in just as like a subtle thing. Like, you may have not even noticed it. It was really cool. So I mean, it's hard to pinpoint one thing to actually talk about from this episode because there was so much going on. Like I said, it was all about responsibility. It felt like this episode was aimed quite a bit at the girls as well. Maribito had her moment of trying to bond with Atra and Kudelia. It didn't quite work out. But I mean, it shows that the girls are kind of trying to come together with their own little sisterhood, and just not working so well. Atra and Kudelia together, they're definitely working well, and they're forming their little family unit with Mikazuki. Whereas Maribito is just not part of that group yet. I think Kudelia probably pushed her away because she's an older woman, and she's still not over Fumitan yet. She probably won't ever be over Fumitan. Which is kind of sad. She's still carrying the necklace around everywhere and staring at it longingly. So it was definitely a good episode. It's just, God, I do wish that they had double episodes for this show, because it always feels a bit lacking when you know it's either going to be an actual action episode or it'll just have no action whatsoever in it. And it'll just all be character development and way too much plot going on in the background as well as the foreground. I mean, we even saw that finally they revealed that Hitler's stash was back. And I mean, it was hinted at before. Farid had mentioned that he was getting his information from the mustached person. So it was kind of mentioned that he was around, but now that we know he's actually back and he's alive, and that freaking sucks, because I really wish that he'd just died. He's such a dick. Even now, he's still pissed off at Takadan and really being a dick to Kudelia too, even though he should see by now. Farid is actually looking after Kudelia and planning on using her for his own purposes. So you'd think he wouldn't be still pissed off about the whole thing. Especially since his life was saved by Farid. He should be trying to help his plans properly instead of just giving him information and still chatting shit like a dick. Oh man, the one character that I really want to see get a lot more progression is Olga. Because Olga was so damn cool back on the first few episodes. He had so much of the screen time. He was done so well. He was the leader. He was so intelligent and strong at making his own decisions. Recently, he just hasn't been like that at all. He's constantly asking his big brother Naze for help, and so finding it so hard to actually make decisions for himself. Even Kudelia's helping him make decisions at this point. Oh, it's sad to see a character decline so much like that. Meanwhile, Mika is just getting better and better. I mean, he started off cool in the first couple of episodes, but his progression is definitely coming along. We just never see what Olga's really up to. We never get what's going through Olga's mind other than trying to be the good leader, and maybe they've just decided he's had enough character development already. But if so, that's just sad, man, because he was such a cool character from the beginning and he hasn't really gone anywhere or done much. So it'd be cool to see him get a few episodes of progression and really to finally figure out what happened back in Mika and Olga's past. Because we can see how bonded they are with each other. They never really explained where that whole backstory came from, with like Mika's first kill and Olga freaking out but kind of being spurred on by it. All of the shit that they must have done together as children just to survive. God, we need to see some of that, man. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comment section below. For me, it was a decent episode, just not amazing. Like I said, the episodic formula of like one being really actiony and one being just pure plot progression is kind of getting to me. But hopefully they'll sort that out in the future and it'll all work out. But I do want to know what you guys think, so let me know. If you like this review, wreck that like button like you mean it, and subscribe if you haven't already to see more, and I will see you guys next time.